round 6 here from Whiteland Park, Indiana. A little bit of a mixed bag today as far as weather is concerned, but we'll get to that in just a second. Using a different layout of the track today than we used yesterday, with significantly more straightaway, allowing for a lot of extra drafting opportunities and a lot of overtaking opportunities in some of the heavy braking zones. I'm sitting here joined by Mr. Weatherman himself, Ian Fisher. And Ian, what's the forecast looking like today?
Well, it's gonna rain. I will say that. I'm looking at the radar right now, past 7 scans or so. There's a good chunk of storms to our south, and it's moving basically northeast right now. So I would assume in the next, I wait here. I can even give you a time frame. Honestly, give me 1 second. I would say in the next 35 minutes or so, honestly, we should be seeing rain peeking into the racetrack if my forecast is correct here. But you kind of touched on the track layout too. You're seeing a little bit of it right now. You're kind of seeing that hairpin turn that we're emitting right there in the foreground of your screen currently. We had that yesterday. That was our big passing area. You and I were kind of talking before the broadcast got started here, Sheldon. It's going to be a little bit different today. There's going to be a little bit more opportunity maybe to use some of that slipstream we alluded to tomorrow that wasn't really, or yesterday, excuse me, that wasn't really available to us. Maybe we'll see some of that today. And then obviously, if we get the weather, we get the rain, that's going to throw a whole other caveat into this equation.
Yeah, significantly more straightaway than what we were looking at yesterday. Right now, we've got the micro Swifts and the mini Swifts on track, and Blake Martinez looking to keep up the hot streak right now. 38 machine looking pretty good out here at the front at the moment as he comes across the line to set a 40.654 for his first lap, setting him 9/10 of a second over second place Elliott Sebanelli. James Fox sitting in third, and we know these times are going to come down, so we're not going to harp on them too much because gotta get a little bit of warmth into the tires. But also these drivers, they've had a warm-up session already, but they also need a little bit of a chance to kind of wake themselves up too.
Yeah, it is a little bit earlier than we're used to getting started. I will say that. Usually start a little bit later to give everybody a little bit more time to sleep. I will say it's with the NASCAR races going as late as they have been the past couple of nights, Sheldon. If you are a NASCAR fan, as we see the 38 have a little bit of an off track there, it's been a tough couple of days to make this turnaround and come back to the racetrack in the morning. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm over here with about 3 cups of coffee, and I'm trying to find the energy, but maybe the racing action will pick me back up as it did yesterday. But yeah, last night was a wild one. We crossed the line this time. Blake Martinez still solidifying his spot on top of the board with a 38-1. Late Seminelic starting to rein it in a little bit, though. Got his times down to a 38-4 this time at the stripe. So good pace out of the 187 cart. Looking a little bit better than he did yesterday. So that's exciting to see. More competition here in this field.
Was the rain it in? Was that a joke because of the rain coming, or was that just consequential?
It was consequential, but it
Okay.
can also be used as a pun because, I mean, dad here. Gotta have them dad jokes. You gotta
Well,
work on yours a little
well,
bit there, Ian.
if you were going for the punt, actually, I was gonna give it to you because it was a pretty decent one. I thought you were actually like trying to go for the raining pun there, but either way, uh, as you mentioned so far, Blake Martinez doing a great job at the beginning or the head of this qualifying pack. About 2 minutes left here in our first qualifying session for the morning. Talking to some of our production crew that's at the track right now that of course always do a great job getting all the shots for you here on Kart Chaser. A little bit muggy out there right now, which kind of makes sense with the storms in the area, and then just the Midwest summers in general in Indiana. I don't know if you've been there much in yourself, Sheldon, but just kind of a sticky feeling this time of year. A little fun anecdote though for anybody that does live in the Midwest. I live in mid-Michigan myself, so close enough to Indiana, but saw a lot more lightning bugs this year, which is actually pretty cool. Didn't see very many last year, and seeing a whole bunch this year, so that's actually really good to see.
I haven't had any actual personal experience with the fine state of Indiana, but I've seen enough Brickyard 400 and Indy 500s throughout the years to know that on this time of season, my happy Virginian tail is going to stay exactly where I'm used to because the humidity seems like an extra level over the coastal side of the United States. But currently, Blake Martinez still thundering around this course with a great set of laps. Lap 6 here, going to set a 38 flat, putting him 0.3 of a second over James Fox, who's now moved his way up into second on the board. And Lance Semnelik still sitting there with a 38.4 as his best lap, sitting third right now on the board with Bo Laser and Patrick McNeely rounding out this 5-card field right now.
Something I've kind of noticed so far in the qualifying session, and it might just be, early morning, everybody getting the feel for the track already, but I'm going to call it turn 3 on our layout 89 that we have here, which is essentially another hairpin, but it's almost kind of a tightening radius hairpin almost in a way, or maybe just how the track map is drawn. But I'm seeing a lot of people having trouble with that one corner. Seeing already a few carts go off into the grass. Might be an area to watch for this afternoon, this morning, and we've seen that honestly historically here watching at Whiteland Raceway Park, is that a lot of those hairpins are going to be really the place where we saw a lot of your moves. I remember yesterday we saw I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but we had one driver that every single time it seemed like had a big run through that hairpin, but just couldn't carry the momentum back to our S's section. So we have a lot of that S section that we had yesterday, not quite all of it. Actually, we do have all of it and a little bit more even. So maybe a little bit longer lap times today instead of 33 seconds from the 37 seconds today. So not too much longer of a layout, but definitely some more opportunities, like we mentioned earlier, Sheldon, for some drafting action.
Definitely a lot of great opportunities here, and also in typical Whiteland fashion, it's another one of those layouts that test these drivers to the absolute limits every second of every lap. Because from everything that I've seen up here in the booth, this place, none of the layouts look simple, straightforward, and easy to navigate your way around. Really got to lean into the driver talent side if you want to get the job done here at Whiteland Raceway Park.
Taking a look at the paddock here, I don't want to call anybody out, but you see there's the water bottle toss there, the failed catch. It's kind of funny. I don't know if you saw that.
We'll let that one live in infamy here on the Kart Chaser YouTube channel.
Okay, so the throw was low in his defense. It was like at the knees area, so he would have to go down and get it, but it was kind of a nice little exchange here in the paddock before all these carts go out on the track.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I see a couple of familiar faces here right at the front of the gate.
Well, we talked about that yesterday. Just what's cool about coming here is that you see the same drivers every time, right? You see the same faces, the same names, and stuff like that. So get to see people progress over the years or even over the course of the day.
Yep. So we see Braden Heber leading the pack out here onto the circuit with Evan McCorkadale right behind him. Nicholas Nostman, as well as Mike Haymaker, Nick Patton, Andrew Goldman, Levi Wilbur, and Reed Esslinger taking to the field here to try and set those fast laps. And Evan McCorkadale not leading. Looks like he's gonna be one of the first ones to really figure out how potent the slipstream could be today, as he's driving right in the wake of Braden Heber.
Yeah, and that is one thing, if I seem to remember correctly, that Heber, I wouldn't say struggled with, but it was one of the places where you could at least make some kind of impact, was if you had that slipstream able to use basically his momentum against him and follow him through his wake there. So we'll see if anything different happens as we get to these first couple of laps of qualifying. Again, you're normally used to seeing the first lap not being your fast lap. Usually it's the second or third, but we'll see how it goes here as well. And yesterday, I mean, it was interesting too, because we saw in qualifying all the times that were really close together, sometimes within a second for the top 4, top 5, top 6 carts. But then when we got to the racing action, everything kind of spread apart all day long. So I'm interested to see if there's going to be any change to that today, especially if we're talking about the threat of weather coming in. That's going to definitely change some of these racing styles. Who knows? Maybe some of these dominant drivers you're used to seeing, maybe all of a sudden the rain changes completely. Maybe they're not used to racing in the rain. Maybe it'll be somebody else's chance to shine when that does finally happen. We'll see.
It's possible. I mean, it's an entirely different skill set, racing in the wet as opposed to racing in the dry. Right now, though, Braden Heber leaning in on that momentum, carrying over from yesterday, sitting at the top of the board with a 38.725. Right behind him is Levi Wilbur with a 39 flat. So almost 0.3 of a second advantage over second place right now for Braden Heber. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens as these tires warm up, these carts warm up. But Heber across the line again with a 38.499 this go around. And nobody really getting much better. Nicholas Nostman's going to jump a few spots here with a 38.2, moving himself up into third place. But Still a wide margin there to your pole sitter.
Wide margin indeed, about a half a second between first and second right now. Gets a little bit closer as you go a little bit farther back through the pack, and then you look at that second half too, about fifth through eighth. They're all pretty close as well, so it seems like you almost have two chunks of pace here so far in this qualifying session, which is again something we're kind of used to seeing. Again, I know I'm harping on the weather a little bit here, Sheldon, but I just looked at another product that I have available to myself here on my radar app, and looking at lightning. The good thing is a lot of the lightning in the storm is far, far, far to the west. Talking about almost near the state line, so shouldn't have to worry about anything like that as far as safety of the racetrack is concerned. Now, don't take my word for that. Obviously, I'm sure there's people at the track that make those decisions, but right now, at least looking at what I'm seeing, it looks like it's only going to be the wet stuff for now.
Oh, thank God. Right now. Excuse me, you can thank the Cup Series for that. Right now, Braden Heber still at the top of the board, though, but it's getting closer as Levi Wilbur is closing in with some really good lap times there in second place at 38.4, now at 38.5 for Nicholas Nostman. As we got one cart way up off the track there, the 573, that is Nostman. Catches a lot of grass there. It's going to hurt the momentum a significant amount. Probably not going to be his best lap right here.
Yeah, it's that same part of the track too. That like hairpin section's really giving people a lot of trouble so far.
One thing that I like that I'm seeing right now, though, and I meant to mention it yesterday, but we had so much racing action I couldn't really mention it. But now we got a little bit of a lull because we are qualifying. I got to say, I think my favorite one of the paint schemes out here today has to be McCorkadale's, and it is not because of the color or anything like that. It is because you cannot look at a single corner of that cart without seeing a little donut, a little bit of tire mark on the side of it. As we see McCorkadale get a little bit too much here coming into the hairpin. Grabs some grass, but keeps the foot down to the floor and keeps trying to make out the lap. But you look at a cart that's as well loved as McCorkadale's is right now, and you just see somebody that's not afraid to send it in, not afraid to give it his all.
It's seasoned, I think is the word you're looking for. It's heavily seasoned cart.
Yes, it is the cast iron.
Yes, I was going for a cast iron analogy. Thank you. I was hoping you'd pick up on that. I was going for cast iron. I forgot to say it. Thank you for picking up what I was putting down. I appreciate it. You think there's any cast iron out in the paddock grill today? Because we saw some grilling yesterday. Do you think anybody's got cast iron out there? Do you really grill with cast iron? I've never grilled with. Oh, I don't have a grill, but yeah.
I've never grilled with cast iron, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I wonder if our flagman's grilled with cast iron, if he'll give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
I was gonna make the same pun. I was gonna say he's grilling with that checkered flag, but I like where you went with that too. Yeah. And we promise we'll get more serious as the evening goes on. Just qualifying here, try to get it all out of our system in the morning. I'm envious of you as well because I wasn't able to get coffee this morning. My daughter wanted some attention, and before I noticed it was time for us to go live on the air. So there is that, but maybe the wife could be nice enough to make a coffee run at some point.
That would be nice of her. That was the low one today, by the way. As we wait for our next grid to take to the track here, and I see Lucian Laser right there in that gold cart, the red fire suit. That's the one I recognize.
Really quick, in fairness to qualifying, we're going to go through that really quick. First, Braden Heber. Second, Levi Wilbur, Nicholas Nosman, Evan McCorkdale, Nick Patton, Andrew Goldman, Reed Esslinger, and then Mike Hammaker make up your 8-car field in qualifying there. And then your fastest lap from Heber was a 38.257. But she is doing good. Whiny, but, just baby things. She's fine. Yep. She's just making noise because she can.
So one thing that's really interesting too is that that whole 8-cart grid only separated by 1.6 seconds from Heber all the way down to Hammaker.
It is true. It did tighten up actually as the course of that qualifying session went on. We kind of mentioned that we were used to seeing some closer times in qualifying, so a little bit of a regression to the mean for the 206 medium class.
Now this right here, this is the class that gave us the biggest thrill all day yesterday.
Really was a lot of back and forth racing too. A lot of moves to progression through the field that we weren't really expecting. We
one
saw
cut around
drivers.
already. Oh, looks like, was that Le Pen?
Not entirely sure. It was a white cart, if I remember correctly.
Let's see.
It is.
That's two
It's
carts
two
right there.
carts.
64 is well of Geo Nelson.
Oh no, high-sided.
I think that right there was a sympathy spin.
Solidarity spin. That's what I always call it when my friend spins in front of me and I spin. Solidarity spin.
Across the line right now, the fastest lap going to Carson Benjamin with a 42.1 over Lucian Lasers 42.5.
But to finish my point, Sheldon, sorry, before we had the one cart go off, was we saw a lot of runs from deep in the pack here all the way to the front, especially in our final with the 10-minute final that we had. We saw a lot of that going on. And again, carts just having a lot of trouble with this hairpin today.
Yeah, it looks like it's a really tricky layout that we have here on Sword. You know, all the extra straightaway. I mean, I don't know about you, but every time we go to like a circuit where you have a lot of straightaway, then you just have a really sharp turn. You spend I spend so much time in my head about how I'm gonna get into that first turn, then I end up blowing it every time, right? Like case in point, Watkins Glen, pretty notorious for that, or Monza. You know, anytime we race there in iRacing, always find a way to just ruin that first turn every time I get to it because I've had so much time to just overthink it and then I don't attack accordingly. I wonder if there's a little touch of that going on here.
You know, actually, it's funny you say that. What I was thinking of, speaking of iRacing, was actually the Phoenix Road Course, that first long, sweeping left-hand turn where it tightens up at the end. That's what this kind of reminds me of, because you have the two high-speed left-hand turns, and then at the very end of the high-speed section is a very tight left-hand hairpin. So that's actually kind of what it reminds me of now that you mention it.
But also early in the day, you know, we are in qualifying. These guys probably just trying to find every bit that they can take home with them and maybe just grabbing a little bit too much, including some of the local landscaping, as Carson Benjamin still sitting on top of the board right now. 0.2 of a second over Nolan Wade. Max and Klebe also sitting there in third right now, just a little over 0.2 behind. So everybody is so close right now in pace. Once again, a 1.6 second spread from top of the field to the bottom as Nolan Wade now jumps to the top of the board with a 39.786. And Carson Benjamin only 0.05 of a second off in second. And Lucian Laser still hanging on tight in third.
Yeah, Lucian Laser doing a good job here too, after you wonder if anything maybe possibly happened to that cart with the early session spin. But, you know, we always kind of allude to that we see these carts go off grass. I think they're a little bit more durable than we give them credit for. I think they can go off grass and take a little bit of that more than you would think. I'm thinking, since they sit so low to the ground, Sheldon, right, that anything you do is just going to scrape up the bottom of the cart and then, you know, kind of just hurt the performance of it altogether. But maybe it's not as deep as that. Who knows?
Possibly not. I mean, I can imagine, you know, underbody aerodynamics being very, very big here, you know, just with the speeds that we're carrying. But I mean, hey, you know, any little bit counts, any little bit matters. I mean, you know, we're talking about dirty air at short tracks on the circle side of things, so it is a whole new world we live in these days. Lucian Laser putting together good times currently, sitting in second place right now. Jordan LePen with the bounce back after the early spin here in qualifying, sitting in fourth place right now. Couple tenths of a second off right now, though, about 0.5 off looking at the board. And Carson Benjamin going to springboard all the way up to the top of the sheet now. The 39.4, his best lap of the session.
Different names up at the top of this leaderboard that we're seeing today, too, with our qualifying session.
I think that right there, that's also a testament to the ever-changing layouts here at Whiteland Park this weekend. You know, seems like this is starting to lean into a couple different other drivers' hands. As you see Glazer trying to make an overtake here at the start-finish line. A little bit of practice for later on, and also just trying to get the opportunity to get the clean air, see if that helps that cart any.
Well, again, to talk about the Cup Series race yesterday, and I promise I'll bring this back into kart racing, just stick with me. You see that happen early in these sessions, maybe in the heat race or maybe even in qualifying here. You'll see drivers try different things that maybe they wouldn't try in a race situation, and they can sit there and go, okay, that worked. or that didn't work, and I can try that later on in the race possibly. So it's interesting to see those little moves there that you don't normally see, and then see if they pay off in any kind of capacity when we get into the actual racing action.
And look at that. Jordan Le Pen went to the top of the board for the briefest second I think I've seen in my life, goes all the way up from fourth to first, and he gets overtaken by the top three at the checkered flag. So it's going to be Lucian Laser setting a rocket lap on the final lap here, a 39-2, over top of Carson Benjamin, Nolan Wade, Jordan Le Pen, Maxon Klebe, Maximus Seward, Parker Dunn, Nico Santos, and Gio Nelson rounding out the 9-cart field here. And all the way up to 8th place, it's only 0.6 of a second, well, 0.7 of a second, sorry, between Nico Santos and Lucian Laser. So it's going to be competitive again today like we were expecting. I mean, look at that top 5, or the top 4, all separated by just over 1/10 of a second.
Very, very close split indeed. Kind of what we were expecting. That's what we saw yesterday, was a very tight grouping in a lot of these sessions, especially in qualifying. But I'm getting curious to see when we get into the race action, is it going to be like yesterday where everybody starts to spread apart again?
Another thing I'm noticing too, just by the signage of the track, you know, the flags and everything, it's looking a little windy right now.
Yeah, I would assume so. With storms about 20 minutes away right now, you can see the big American flag there in the background, kind of starting to lean that way. Even the trees in the background, you can kind of see are having a little bit of a shoulder lean to them. Were all those buses there yesterday? They have to have been, right? They didn't just move in a bunch of buses overnight.
Yeah, they had the campers and everything out there.
Well, I mean, over to the left, there's like school buses, like to the left of the campers. They've had to be there. That's...
Must have been, right? I don't know. I was too busy paying attention to the track yesterday.
Well, okay. In my defense, you did bring up the grill thing, and so that's why I
I
started looking over there. So, but anyways, speaking of the racing action yesterday, what we saw yesterday, at least in the 206 Legends Supermasters, was J. Brian Williams basically running a clinic. There was a little bit of back and forth between Cutshaw and McLaughlin, but that was really just between those two. It was basically J. Brian Williams out in the class himself.
Yeah, J. Brian Williams basically dropped the mic on the field yesterday and just ran away. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can keep up the same momentum today. I mean, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't, right? It's all the same guys, and, you know. Brian
Same
Williams
cards, you think, too?
Yeah, same cards, because I'm seeing the same colors on everybody. Cutshaw still in the Dayglow orange. You know, it looks like the Kubota machine. Really enjoy the color, by the way, because it stands out. Us announcers, we love bright neon colors, man. It makes it easier for us to
is
pick
that
you
a
out of a
Kubota
lineup.
card?
No, I don't think it is.
Oh, it's the Kubota orange is what you're saying. Okay, got it.
Yes, a wonderful shade of farm equipment orange as we look right now at the 124 machine of Stevens. And that is Joseph Stevens right in front of J. Brian Williams. Going to let Brian Williams get the pass here. Watch Cutshaw all over the back bumper here, and across the line this go around. It's going to be a 39.708 out of J. Brian Williams, setting him up at the top of the board with Danny Cutshaw in second with a 41.0. So definitely more time for these guys to find here.
Kind of an interesting spot for Joseph Williams to find himself in, or sorry, Joseph Stevens to find himself in there, coming on track a little bit late. Found himself basically right in the jaws of all the fast carts on the racetrack right now.
And that's a nervous position to be in, as we see one guy getting the go-ahead here.
Make a point out there. I like the point out because it's basically like, you know, the iRacing pass left, pass right, but in real life.
See, I would just be sitting there pointing at people, making them crazy. If I was karting, I'd play head games.
Bad etiquette.
That's me.
Fair enough.
It's like Ken Schrader, you know, squirting a fire extinguisher out the window so the guy behind him thought he was blowing up so he could save tires.
Fun fact, actually, I was firing up NASCAR 2005 Chase for the Cup yesterday and played it on my emulator. And what was it? it was Schrader was like the the driver on the main menu, and I was like, oh.
You know what's funny is Schrader's probably off racing somewhere right now too.
Oh yeah, more than likely. He might even be here.
Yeah.
It's actually just J. Brad Williams. He just goes under a fake name. Although, speaking of which, look who's at the top of the board right now.
William McLaughlin going to steal away that pole spot from J. Brian Williams. The first time we've seen anybody do it all weekend.
Be interesting to see if J. Brian Williams has something for him, or if we do have a little bit of a challenge here today.
It might be, but I mean, heck, it's too early. We can't just assume it just yet. We're gonna see what happens here though across the line. J. Brian Williams going to reach the stripe here and solidify himself back up at the top of the board now by 0.3 of a second over William McLaughlin. Danny Cutshaw.
And I wonder if this is the first example of the slipstream we're seeing, because look at this.
It looks like it. A little bit of two-kart tango here down the back straightaway between Cutshaw and the 56 machine of McLaughlin. And that right there could be where that time's coming from for Will. It's possible. And it looks like that slip is effective in more than just the straightaway alone.
I would have thought they would have moved away from each other by now to try to get some clean track to run the rest of this qualifying session. But yeah, they've been right on each other's bumpers so far.
Well, you tell Mr. Dennett, Ricky Bobby is my best friend.
It's a good reference.
As we see what McLaughlin.
Now we see the pass.
Dive it down to the bottom here into one, take away the spot. Now he's going to try to see what that Kart can do with a little bit of clean air. J. Brian Williams still up at the point right now. But it is getting close between first and second as the checkered flag is waved here to conclude the Master and 206 Legends qualifying. At the stripe, no better for J. Brian Williams. Let's see what happens for Will McLaughlin here.
Probably no relation to Scott McLaughlin.
No, strong doubt. J. Brian Williams still at the top of the board. William McLaughlin, no improvement in the lap time. So J. Brian Williams continues that heater that he started yesterday.
McLaughlin though did have some speed there for just a few seconds. Was at the top of the board, so that's gonna be interesting to watch there as well. He was working really well with Danny Cutshaw in that qualifying session, I will say.
I'll tell you what, if William McLaughlin can get that Kart hooked up to the back of J. Brian Williams and just ride in his wake, because it's obvious there's, a little bit of a performance gain for the 75 Kart over the rest of these guys. If he can just stay in the wake of J. Brian Williams, he can make a lot of noise in the closing laps of the final when we get there. Either way, that was the KA Seniors and Masters. A little bit of an abbreviated field, but they're going to put on a good show nonetheless. They did yesterday, and I'm excited to see what they put together today. Get ready now. I'm
glad you said that.
Pretty sure.
Glad you said that too, because I almost said this was the KA Senior.
Is that AJ Lund's little 43 Kart? Yes, it is. It'll be interesting to see if he can continue the dominance that we saw yesterday. Him versus Dane Van Dyke was one heck of a battle at a show. Also, Macy Gallion, Kevin Semenelik, Joshua Nelson, Abram Dean, and Eric Estrada all making returns from yesterday.
Look at that 79 Kart around the hairpin too. The left rear was off the ground for a second. Might be part of the reason why we're seeing so many people have a hard time there. You're just throwing so much weight around that corner.
Right there, you just saw the secret again on display. AJ Lund, I was talking about it all day yesterday, how well he was executing that final corner coming down to the front straightaway with that just ridiculous four-wheel slide that he pulls every lap. And it looks like he's already getting warmed up to that as we get ready to complete our first lap of qualifying here for the KA Seniors and Masters.
There's a couple times yesterday that we saw AJ Lund with a full opposite lock going through that corner.
And one thing that we never saw was him losing any time in the process, but across the stripe, the first lap, it's going to be a 35.3, which is the fastest lap we've seen so far this morning. That's coming from the 43 Kart of AJ Lund. Dane Van Dyke sitting there with a 36.360. Just a second off pace right now. Macy Gallion bringing in some speed early here, sitting third on the board with a 36.9. Definitely some room for improvement, but, all these guys, once you get these tires broken in, they get, comfortable with the layout. I think we're going to see some really good times. These were some of the fastest karts we saw yesterday.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just rip it too. It was so much fun to watch. We mentioned about AJ Lund going around that corner. It wasn't just him, right? There was multiple drivers that were really throwing it through that final big sweeping set of right-hand corners that you see on your screen right now. Really just throwing it out there, and it's kind of funny because in a lot of other racing disciplines, you don't want to be sliding, right? But karting is a little bit different in that regard. You actually don't mind sliding the kart around. It's actually usually pretty advantageous to slide your kart around a little bit.
Karting, all about momentum, all about keeping the RPMs up in these engines. It's not like you have a whole bunch of power to lean back on. It's all about how well you can attack the corners and get through the corners with the highest roll center. And right now, AJ Lund, the one with that, with 35.3, still his fastest lap. Dane Van Dyke reeling it in ever so slightly, though, with a 35.6. So we're getting closer up here at the top of the field, but just don't know. AJ had so much pace yesterday. I'm really curious to see if he can keep it up and make a perfect sweep of things this weekend. So we had our eyes on Macy Gallion there, the 148 kart. Still sitting third on the board. There's some improvements found for the 148 machine today over yesterday.
Yeah, pretty similar to what we've seen, at least for the see who that is. It's facing right towards us, so it's kind of hard to see.
The 223, that is going to be Eric Estrada.
But I was going to say, Sheldon, for the top of the half of the field, kind of similar to what we saw yesterday, right? The trends are continuing, at least.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And once we get all these guys, matched up and lined up together on the grid, I'm expecting a pretty chaotic race, because we saw a lot of movement yesterday.
Oh, big moment there. Hangs on to it, though.
Yes, Ross seeming to struggle a little bit with the handle of the 223 kart, but plenty of time today to get that thing, shaped out and get that familiarity that we need, that these drivers all need so desperately for these racetracks, especially with the ever-changing conditions that we're going to see today, as we see a heavy cloud cover start to work its way in. And it's been cloudy all morning, but it's looking a little bit thicker than it was earlier.
Yeah, it is a little bit hard to tell. Sometimes I was thinking it was cloudy yesterday, and it was nearly sunny all day long. But yeah, definitely would be expecting to see some cloud cover rolling in here. Taking another look at it, precipitation is estimated to be now about 15 minutes here, maybe, until it starts raining. So at least this session is going to be able to get through maybe two more, I would say. Might be able to actually get through our qualifying potentially before the storms do hit, which would be kind of interesting because it would be during our heats is when everything would be kind of going on.
And you can definitely tell it's getting ready to, because the sky's getting darker, the clouds are getting darker, so storms definitely brewing in the area. AJ Lund across the line that time, though, 9/10 of a second over Dane Van Dyke. Third place going to Macy Gallion over Abram Dean, Joshua Nelson, Kevin Semenelik, and Eric Estrada.
From a Macy Gallion there, I think yesterday they were kind of towards the lower half of the qualifying order. I know during the races and stuff like that, did a really good job moving up through the field, ended up in the top half, but now the qualifying speed is there too.
Yeah, definitely been some improvement. It was cool. We watched, struggles out of the 148 kart yesterday, and somewhere midway through the race, it was just like a light, or midway through one of the heats, it was like a light switch clicked on, and that 148 kart had a heap more pace than what we saw at the beginning of the day. So gonna be interesting to see how she progresses through round 6 here of the Indy Karting Championship. But that is all done and dusted here for the KA Masters and KA Seniors. So we get a look at the wind just picking up here in the area, and our beautiful KC Kart Chaser flag.
Oh, nice. I didn't know we had flags. That's cool. Actually, no, a good time to give a shout out actually to everybody who is on site right now at Whiteland Raceway Park. Everybody doing a great job getting us all these scenes, all these sounds from the racetrack so we can bring them to you here at home. So just want to shout out them again. And also remember, if you're at the racetrack, drink water, stay hydrated out there.
Brandon, why are there all these charges
stop.
for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this Brandon business, okay? Brandon this, Brandon that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
Kyle, what are you doing?
It's got my new Greyhound seat.
You don't even have a cart.
Doesn't matter. I have a Greyhound.
Who the f is Kyle Cuthbertson? Doesn't even have a go-kart.
Doesn't matter.
Cuthbertson threw on Turney. Turney in the dirt.
Florida Kart Racers, you asked for it and we're going to bring it. Introducing Florida Karting Championship, FLKC, a brand new racing series coming to Florida in 2026.